You're standing before a wooden table bathed in warm, golden light. On it lie 4 watches, perfectly aligned, silent, timeless, waiting. Their faces shine softly, reflecting fragments of the room around you. They don't tick, but somehow you feel their pulse as if each one carries a heartbeat of its own. They are not just watches, they are mirrors. Each one tells a different story about how you move through life, how you hold time. Chase it, resist it, or let it flow. Take a breath. Look at them closely. Don't think, don't analyze, just feel. Which one calls to you without reason? Now, tell me in the comments, which watch drew your attention first? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Because this isn't just about design, it's about rhythm, the rhythm of your inner world. You take a step closer. The air feels almost sacred, as if time itself is pausing to let you listen. Each watch glows differently under the light, whispering through symbols, colors, and textures. They seem ordinary, yet each carries a truth about the way you experience life. You realize something quietly powerful. You've never worn time, you've been worn by it. Every tick, every deadline, every memory, every longing, all of them shaping how you breathe. And now, these 4 watches stand before you, not to measure time, but to show you how you live it. You reach for the first one, a silver minimalist watch, its face clear, its lines sharp. No numbers, only thin hands gliding in silence. It feels light, precise, almost sacred in its simplicity. This is the watch of the seeker of order, the one who finds comfort in structure, who believes that control brings peace. You are drawn to clarity, to routines, to lists, to clean beginnings. You want time to make sense, to stay where you put it. But life rarely obeys that kind of discipline, does it? You've built harmony out of precision, but sometimes precision becomes a prison. You feel uneasy when plans change, when life moves faster than logic. Yet beneath that tension lies something deeper, a longing not for control, but for stability. This watch doesn't just mark minutes, it mirrors the part of you that wants to be safe from chaos. But time isn't an enemy, it's a river. You can't build a dam strong enough to stop it. All you can do is learn how to float. Then your eyes find the second watch, golden, ornate, radiant. It catches light like fire. Its numbers are large and confident, its band heavy with presence. You feel its weight even before you touch it. This is the watch of the performer, the lover of life. You live in moments that matter, laughter, connection, intensity. You don't just experience time, you consume it. You crave the fullness of the present, the rush of meaning, the sparkle of now. You hate waiting. You hate stillness. You want to feel alive every second, but secretly, you fear the silence between experiences. Because that's when you hear the voice that says, "Who am I when no one's watching?" This watch is beautiful but demanding. It burns bright, but it also burns fast. It reminds you that joy is sacred, but without reflection, it turns into noise. Your lesson here is to keep the flame, but learn to rest beside it. Not every second needs to shine. Some are meant to be soft. You move to the third watch, black leather, with a dark steel face. Its design is timeless, strong, quiet. It feels like something that has survived many storms. This is the watch of the observer, the one who doesn't rush, who watches the world with patience and distance. You are drawn to silence, to reflection, to stillness that others mistake for detachment. You don't fear time, you respect it. You know that everything comes and goes in rhythm. But sometimes your calmness hides fatigue. You've learned to protect your peace so deeply that even joy struggles to find its way in. This watch carries wisdom and wars. You wear it like a reminder that maturity often costs spontaneity. But deep down, a part of you still wants to be surprised. to laugh uncontrollably, to feel the pulse of life again. Maybe time doesn't need to be controlled or observed. Maybe it's asking you to participate. And then, the fourth watch, a vintage one, its glass slightly scratched, its ticking faint but steady. It feels alive, imperfect, full of history. When you hold it, you can sense stories inside. It lives, lived, tears shed, laughter shared. This is the watch of the dreamer, the soulful wanderer. You see beauty in what has aged, truth in what others overlook. You are not afraid of endings, because you know that endings are simply transformations in disguise. You've learned that time doesn't pass, it deepens. You value meaning more than speed, presence more than progress. But sometimes, nostalgia holds you too tightly. You stay too long in yesterday, replaying moments, trying to feel them again. This watch reminds you that memories are gifts, not homes. You can visit them, but you can't live there. Because life, even when slow, even when quiet, is still unfolding right now. You step back and look at the four watches again: silver, gold, black, and vintage brown. Each one reflects a different rhythm of being: control, passion, reflection, and depth. You realize that time has never been the problem. It was your relationship with it, how you held it too tightly or not at all. Because in truth, the only moment that ever existed is this one. And the more you try to measure it, the more it slips through your fingers. But when you stop chasing, you start hearing it, the pulse of now, beating quietly beneath everything you do. Time. It's strange, isn't it? You chase it as if it were running away, but it was never moving faster than you. It was only reflecting your fear of being still. When you hold a watch in your hand, you hold the illusion that time can be owned. You look at its face, count its seconds, plan your hours, but what you really want isn't time, it's control. And control is a beautiful lie. Think of how often you say, "I don't have time," as if time were a treasure someone else took from you. But in truth, it was never theirs or yours. Time belongs to no one. It only flows. Every tick on a watch is an invitation to breathe, to notice, to exist. Yet most people hear that ticking as a threat, as if every second were a warning: you're running out. You try to organize it, set alarms, plan schedules, build your life in neatly measured boxes. You convince yourself that if everything fits, then maybe you'll finally feel safe. But safety never comes from control. It comes from presence. Look at the watch you chose. Its design was not random. It was a reflection of your rhythm. If you chose the silver one, maybe you're always chasing the next step, trying to fix chaos with perfection. If you chose the gold one, maybe you run toward passion so fast that you forget to rest in silence. If you chose the black one, you might hide behind calmness to avoid being touched by the unpredictable. And if you chose the vintage one, you might live too often in memories, hoping the past will offer comfort again. Different choices, same illusion, that somehow you can hold what was never meant to be held. You think you control time because you track it, but have you ever noticed that even your heartbeat doesn't ask your permission to beat? That your breath comes and goes without your command? Life doesn't obey control. It invites trust. And that's the hardest thing, to trust that you're exactly where you should be, even when everything feels late or out of order. Because maybe late doesn't exist. Maybe it's just a story told by fear, to make you rush through what should be lived slowly. You watch the seconds move, and suddenly realize they don't move away, they unfold. Each one doesn't disappear. It transforms into a thought, a feeling, a memory, a quiet heartbeat echoing somewhere in eternity. So tell me, what are you really afraid of losing? Time or the illusion that you're in control of it, because when you let go, you don't lose time, you enter it. You stop counting life and start living it. There's a story inside every clock, a story of humans trying to measure something that was never linear, something infinite, circular, breathing. Maybe that's why you're here, not to manage time, but to make peace with it, because peace doesn't come when the world slows down. It comes when you do. So as you hold that watch in your hand, feel its silence between the ticks. That silence, that tiny pause, is where real life happens. Not in the counting, but in the space between. And if you can listen deeply enough, you'll hear it whisper the simplest truth of all. Time doesn't pass through you, you pass through time. And somewhere beyond the ticking and the hours, you'll realize you were never running out of time. You were just running away from being here. You thought you were just choosing a watch, a simple object, nothing more. But as you stared at the table, as your hand hesitated, something deeper inside you was already speaking, because your choice wasn't made by logic. It was made by the soul. And the soul never picks at random. When your eyes rested on the silver minimalist watch, you weren't just drawn to simplicity. You were longing for peace, a kind of peace that order promises, but rarely delivers. You crave clarity, don't you? A day that flows without chaos, a mind that stays calm no matter what happens. You try to keep everything under control because unpredictability feels dangerous. But here's the truth. Your order isn't fear, it's healing. You've seen what happens when life spins too fast, when things collapse because no one held them steady. So now you hold them. You hold everyone. You hold yourself. Yet the lesson of this silver watch is gentleness. Not everything needs to be held tightly to stay together. Sometimes the most beautiful moments are the ones you never planned at all. If you chose the gold watch, you probably live your life like a spark in motion, glowing, dazzling, always alive. You love the thrill of creation, the beauty of expression, the way laughter fills the air when you walk in. But somewhere inside, that brightness hides exhaustion. Because being the light for others sometimes means you burn your own energy just to keep shining. You love deeply, but often too quickly. You promise too much, not because you're careless, but because you want to feel everything at once. This watch reminds you that not every moment must be golden. Even the quiet hours, the dim corners, the pauses, they are sacred too. True presence is not found in fireworks, but in the warmth that remains after the spark fades. You don't need to be the sun to be seen. Sometimes a candle in the dark says more. If your heart was pulled toward the black leather watch, you are the soul of patience, the silent observer. You read the world like a book most people never notice. Every gesture, every silence, you understand what others can't say. You've walked through enough storms to know that calmness is not weakness, it's wisdom. You don't rush, you wait. You don't shout, you watch. But sometimes, behind that composure, there's an ocean of unspoken emotion. You carry stillness like armor, but even silence needs to breathe. You've built boundaries so carefully that even love has trouble crossing them. This watch doesn't tick loudly for a reason. It wants you to listen inwardly, to trust that you don't always have to hold everything in. The world won't crumble if you let it see your heart. Vulnerability doesn't destroy strength. It completes it. And if you chose the vintage brown watch, you live inside memories, not because you're stuck, but because you see beauty in everything that fades. You collect moments like photographs, old laughter, forgotten voices, the scent of someone who once meant everything. You don't run from the past. You hold it like a sacred relic. But the danger of nostalgia is that it can blur the path ahead. This watch reminds you that time isn't circular, it's spiral. You don't return to the same place. You return with new eyes. You don't have to let go of what once mattered. You just have to let it transform, because every ending has already planted the seed for what's coming next. And now that you've seen what your choice means, you start to understand something deeper. Time is not just movement, it's emotion. It bends and expands based on how you feel. A joyful hour passes like a minute. A painful minute feels like a year. So maybe what you call time isn't really in your watch. It's in your heart. You've been taught to measure it, but never to feel it. You've been told to be productive, but not to be present. And that's where your watch becomes your teacher. It whispers through its ticking hands. You can't control time. You can only harmonize with it, because every second that passes is not a loss. It's an invitation to be here, to stop chasing what's next, to finally notice that the life you're waiting for is already happening. You've been watching the clock your whole life. You've measured moments, marked achievements, counted birthdays, deadlines, anniversaries, and yet, even with all those numbers, you've never truly grasped time, have you? It keeps moving. Even when you stop, it slips between your fingers, whispering softly, "You were never supposed to hold me." And maybe that's the secret you've been missing all along. Time was never meant to be owned. It was meant to be lived. You stand again before the four watches, the silver one, the golden one, the black one, the vintage brown one. But something has changed. They no longer look like objects. They look like choices you've already made in life. Each one represents a version of you, the orderly, the passionate, the patient, the nostalgic. Each one carried a piece of your story. And now you realize none of them were wrong. They were simply mirrors showing how you tried to survive the flow of time. You weren't broken for wanting order. You weren't selfish for seeking joy. You weren't distant for protecting your peace. You weren't weak for holding on to the past. Every choice was an attempt to love yourself in the only way you knew how. You look closer, and for the first time, you see that all four watches share the same thing, a single, invisible heartbeat, the same pulse, the same rhythm, echoing through every color, every design. And then you understand. You never chose a watch. You were always choosing how to feel alive. Time wasn't outside of you. It was you. The way you think, feel, remember, and imagine. That's the real clock. And suddenly, the illusion breaks. You remember all the times you said, "I wish I could go back." But if you could, what would you really change? The mistakes, the pain, the silence, or maybe the way you looked at them? Because everything that hurt you also shaped you. Every delay, every detour, every heartbreak, they weren't interruptions in time. They were the time that mattered most. It was never about moving faster. It was about moving consciously. And that's what freedom really means. Not doing more, but feeling more deeply what's already here. Close your eyes for a moment. Listen. There's a ticking sound, faint but steady. Is it the watch? No. It's your own heart. It beats without asking permission, without watching the clock, without wondering what's next. It just beats. And in that rhythm, there's a truth too simple to ignore. Life doesn't measure itself in seconds. It measures itself in presence. Every time you're fully here, when you breathe without rush, when you love without fear, when you stop counting and start feeling, you step outside of time. And for that brief moment, you touch eternity. Imagine if you could live that way, not as someone racing through hours, but as someone dancing with them. You wake up, not to chase the day, but to greet it You stop saying, I don't have time, and start whispering, I am time. You stop dividing your life into before and after. Because there is only now. There has always only been now. You understand that clocks were made for hands, but the soul was made for silence. The 4 watches are still on the table, but their light feels softer now, almost melting into the air. The silver one reminds you to simplify, but not to shrink. The golden one reminds you to live fully, but not to burn out. The black one teaches you to rest, but not to disappear. And the vintage one whispers, remember, but don't stay behind. They're not symbols of time anymore. They're lessons, 4 ways to remember who you are. And as you take a final breath, you realize something quietly beautiful. You don't need a watch to know what time it is, because the real time is always now. The room feels still. The air hums with a kind of peace you can't describe. And in that silence, a realization blooms. You've spent your life trying to master time, but time was always trying to teach you. It was never a race. It was a rhythm, and you've been part of it since the very beginning. So let the watch rest. Let the past rest. Let the next moment come when it's ready. Your only task is to be awake enough to notice it. You open your eyes. The watches are gone. There's only the faint glow of morning light through a window and the soft sound of your breath. You smile, not because something changed, but because you finally see what was always there. The hours aren't leaving you. They're moving through you, gently, gracefully, endlessly. And maybe, just maybe, that's what freedom truly is. To live without rushing, to love without counting, to exist without measuring, because in the end, you are not the observer of time. You are its heartbeat.